Muted, Cindy. There.
I think you can hear me now.
Yes.
So we'll go ahead and call this meeting, the regular board meeting of Wednesday, January 13, 2021 at 6 p.m. to order. And I will call the roll. You may have noted that we have a new requirement when we call the roll to say where you are participating from. And that's the city or township, county, and state. So I'll start with Stacy. Aldrich?
Here from Saugatuck Township in Allegan County of Michigan.
Thank you. Bigford?
Here, participating from Saugatuck Township, Allegan County, Michigan.
And Helmrich?
I'm here, participating from Saugatuck Township in the county of Allegan in the state of Michigan.
Thank you. Marcy?
Here, Saugatuck Township, Allegan County, Michigan.
Thank you. And Osmond, I'm also in Saugatuck Township, Allegan County, state of Michigan. So, Griffin, do you want to go over the Zoom instructions?
I'd be happy to, thank you. Just as a friendly reminder for everyone who's participated in one of these meetings before, or if you're participating for the first time, just going to go over a few Zoom instructions to hopefully help make this meeting run as smooth as possible. Please say your name before speaking. Please mute yourself when you're not speaking. If you're joining us via traditional telephone, *6 tends to be the code to mute and to unmute. Please don't click any unknown links that may be shared in the chat feature. The township does not intend to share any information that way. This meeting is being recorded and will be available on the township's YouTube page early to mid tomorrow. Please be respectful of those speaking and do not interrupt. If anyone is disruptive to the point that it prevents the township board from being able to conduct business, you will get one warning before being removed from the meeting. It hasn't been an issue in the past. These meetings have run really successfully. And then lastly, please be patient with us as we're still all learning a new system. We've been doing it for just short of a year now, but I know to many of us, it still feels pretty new. But we will attempt to be as deliberate as possible and we'll get through this as a group. So if there are not any questions by any members of the township board, I think we're good to proceed.
We have approval of the agenda. Is there anyone that would like to make a motion?
This is Bigford. I'll move to approve the agenda and to ratify the procedures for public participation and meeting conduct as described in the notice of public meeting via video conference.
Is there support?
Marcy, I'll second.
Thank you. I'll call the roll. Bigford?
Yes.
Marcy?
Yes.
Osmond, yes. Helmrich?
Yes.
Aldrich?
Yes.
Motion carries. We have a couple of presentations. I believe the first one is Dan Veldhuizen, our CPA, who does our auditing for our books. Dan, if you're there, you have the floor.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Thanks for inviting me. I don't think I'll ever get used to Zoom meetings, but it sure is nice not to have to drive quite as much. Let me start by saying that we certainly appreciate the relationship we have with the township. We really enjoy working with all of the people that you have there. You're all relatively new in your positions, but doing a nice job, I would say. Really like working with Griffin. He must have been the one to find that picture of the funny looking guy in his PowerPoint. So
That was your father, Dan.
I wish. But Griffin does a nice job. John and Lori do a nice job with their accounting responsibilities. I'll be fairly brief tonight. I'd like to talk about two primary things, and those are the auditor communications. There are two of those. And then take a brief look at your financial position. Do you all have the financial statements in front of you?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. Sure. Just like last year, I like to look at the independent auditor's report first. That's the page immediately after the table of contents. I like to look at this because that's what you hired us to do, to give an opinion on the financial statements. There's a couple of concepts there that I think are important. I just want to remind you of those. The first couple of paragraphs that are in bold talk about responsibilities, both management's responsibility and the auditor's responsibility. Won't read through all of that, but basically these financial statements, even though we prepared them for you, are ultimately all of your responsibility. And that includes the internal controls or checks and balances over recording the transactions. It's our responsibility to express opinions on the financial statements, nothing more, nothing less. We're not at the township to do a fraud investigation, do anything else other than to give an opinion about whether the financial statements are fairly presented. And we've done that at the bottom of that page, that first page under opinions, where we say that the financial statements are fairly presented in all material respects. That's known as an unmodified or sometimes a clean opinion. Unfortunately, I hear all the time that if the auditor issued a clean opinion, everything must be fine. But I can promise you that if you looked at every single financial statement for all the municipalities in the state of Michigan on the Treasury's website, every single opinion would read word for word exactly the same. The reason for that is that auditors continue to ask you or ask management to make corrections until we get to the point where we can give a clean opinion. So that's what we're doing there. And that's the reason why they all read the same. So what you really want to know is how many corrections did we have to make to allow us to give that opinion? And we addressed that in the other communication that we issued. That's not bound in the document, but it's a separate 4-page letter that's also on our letterhead. I'm not sure if you have that in front of you or not.
It was just before the audit document in the meeting packet. If you all would like, I can put it up on the screen if that's helpful.
I've got mine.
I got mine.
Okay. It's nice to have it in front of you. There's a couple of things to look at there. I'm not going to go through it word for word, but I just wanted to point out a couple of things on the third page. First of all, starting on the second page, we talk about communications regarding internal controls. Basically, an auditor's requirement is to point out any problems that we find in internal controls. So we give definitions of things like control deficiencies and material weaknesses, all things that I didn't come up with, but we're required to report in writing now. So you'll see there's a section on material audit adjustments. That's what's known as a material weakness because we had to make some material audit adjustments. You'll see in the middle of the page some bullet points, things like accruing interest and receivables, all year-end accruals that are very typical. We probably record those for certainly the majority, if not 75, 80% of our clients. Most of our clients, just like the people at your office, know how to record the cash transactions, but probably need some help with the year-end adjustments. I personally think it's an unfair expectation for a township of your size to give everything to us perfectly. That's really what the standards say. So I would tell you that 95% of our 100 governmental clients need some help with adjustments at the end of the year. So that's a fairly typical weakness that we report. On the next page, on page 4, there's a section that defines what a significant deficiency is. It's a little different because it's important to communicate to all of you, but it's not a material weakness. Material weakness means we had to make a material correction. And you'll see that it references cash account reconciliations. So the issue here is that the bank account reconciliations were done, but were not completely accurate. But the amounts which we helped correct were not what we call material. The pooled bank account, which had about $2.7 million in it, needed a correction of $3,700, I think. So really, just to summarize what we're saying here is that it would be great to identify all the corrections that are necessary and record those in a timely manner. And that means within 4 to 6 weeks of the end of a month. So that would be a definite improvement. One recommendation that's not in here is that there's nothing wrong with you asking our advice or getting help from somebody on the outside, like Peter at the City of Saugatuck has helped John with that in the past. And you can always contact us and get advice on what to look for and what corrections to make. So if my goal would be to have you to come back next year at this time and not have to make that comment that there were no problems with the bank reconciliation. The reason for that is when that's all correct, then you can rely on the other information that's in your internal reports. So just wanted to cover those two things that we reported. And then just taking a quick look at your financial position. Probably the best place to look at that is on page 13. Please feel free to interrupt me too if you have questions and concerns as we go along. I'll be very brief here too. That the page 13 is a balance sheet or a picture at a point in time of your financial position for each of the various funds. There's far too many numbers on this page, and throughout the document, I learned that the average person can handle 6 numbers on a piece of paper. So most of us don't care to see this much information, but I'll try to just narrow it down to the key things. The column on the left is your general fund. And you can see from this that really the fundamental accounting equation, assets equals liabilities plus equity. The general fund has about 940,000 in assets, 61,000 in liabilities, and 879,000 in fund balance or equity. The main question I get from board members is, do we have adequate fund balance? I can't really answer that because I don't know everything that's going on in the township, but I can compare it to others. So your fund balance, unassigned fund balance of $849,000 represents 119% of your current year's expenditures. That's really quite healthy. The typical township in Michigan probably is at 75%. So you have a higher fund balance than most townships, and certainly better than you had years ago when I worked on the audit. So certainly not excessive. Nobody could argue that, because it's nice to have additional funds set aside, especially in economic times like these. If you go to the right and look at the other funds, you can see they're all very healthy too. The road fund has $1,670,000 of fund balance. You have money set aside to pay the debt for the sewer, and you have other restricted funds that are set aside as well. So overall, the township is very healthy, and each of its funds are as well. One other financial item I'd like to talk about is on page 32. I know every year we talk about the defined benefit plan as a concern, but I'd like to highlight a couple of positive things. On page 32, again, a lot of numbers. The column to the left represents your most recent fiscal year. If you look near the bottom of that column, you'll see the heading, the township's net pension liability. It's about $425,000, and it is funded at about 48%. If you look at that compared to previous years, it was at 30% before, now it's up to 48%. So positive trend in that the pension liability, their pension plan is more funded than it has been in previous years, and the liability is going down. That's a good thing. Just to point out that MERS is thinking of reducing your what they call the discount rate, which will increase the liability. So I know that they have cleaned some things up as far as the plan participants and other things, but without an additional contribution or increased contributions to the plan, the liability probably will continue to go up. So something to certainly keep your eye on. I would tell you that 10 years ago, I'm not an actuary, but an actuary would probably tell you that as long as you're 50% funded, you're probably in good shape. But there's such a focus on defined benefit pension plans now, or unfunded liabilities, that MERS especially and others would like to have these plans more fully funded. There's no requirement to have them fully funded, and you're making efforts to increase the funding. So I know that's always been a concern for all of you, so I wanted to make sure we talked about that a little bit. Beyond that, Another positive thing is in the notes to the financial statements, you'll read that there were no budget violations. I would say most, if not 75, 80% again of townships, when they go through a year, things come up so that you're going to have some budget violations. You had none this year. So that's another positive, another thing that you should be complimented for. Those are the highlights. Be glad to answer any questions now or anytime throughout the year. You're always welcome to communicate with us.
Is there anybody that has a question for Mr. Veldhuizen?
I have a comment, if I may. It's Helmrich here. Just I want to thank Dan as well and his team, because this was just the second audit that many of us worked with you guys on. And from my point of view, this year went way smoother, much more smoothly and positively than last year. And I'm glad you pointed out a couple of the highlights that I would have shared with our board as well. The 119% coverage of that's how much money we have available versus what we need in a given 12-month period. That's fantastic. The revenues for the fiscal year came in at $48,000 ahead of budget. Most of that was increased fees within the zoning area. And as important, if not more important, I'm very proud to say that we came in at $119,000 under on the expense side. So I just wanted to underscore those things that you've pointed out and commend everyone and commend you for helping lead us in this direction. And on a little personal aside, you'll be happy to know that the three bank statements for the three bank accounts, they've been reconciled through December. So now we're just waiting for January to come in. So
That is terrific, John.
yeah. But I will be in touch. I keep forgetting that I can run questions by you, and I will do more of that. Thank you, sir.
Anytime.
Thank you, John. Is there anybody else that has any questions for Mr. Veldhuizen? I'm not seeing any. So thank you, Dan Veldhuizen, for giving that positive report. It's great to hear that we've improved over last year.
You're doing well. Thanks very much for your time and attention.
Okay.
Thank you.
Good night. Thanks.
Okay, we have a second presentation, and that's by Mr. Graham, our township manager. So I will let him give our annual report presentation. Griffin, you have the floor.
Thank you very much, and thank you, Dan, for attending the meeting. I know it's extremely helpful from my perspective for the township board to get to hear that information directly from you. So appreciate you taking the time to be here tonight. If you all don't mind, give me a second. I put together a separate presentation for this to hopefully make it a little bit easier to understand. Are you all seeing that okay? It says 2020 annual report. Okay, thank you. So just as a quick preface, several communities in the state of Michigan annually will give an update. Their staff will give an update to their elected board on the operations or the highlights of the operations over the last year. I want to take this opportunity to quickly highlight some of the progress staff was able to make in 2020, specifically in regard to the township board's adopted goals and priorities. I also felt like this might be helpful for you all, as later in the meeting, you all will likely dive in a little deeper into the discussion regarding setting the 2021 goals and priorities. So with that, as I think you all remember, we're going to go a little bit backwards, but start a little bit in terms of timeline. In December 2019, so over a year ago at this point, the township board brought in a facilitator and hosted at a special meeting a goal setting workshop. At that meeting, if you'll remember, Al Vanderberg, the Ottawa County Administrator, came in and facilitated a series of activities with you all. At that point, we were still able to meet in person, and in follow-up, put together a detailed SWOT analysis, as well as a few other documents for us to consider. Moving forward, in February 2020, the Township Board adopted a set of goals and priorities. As you'll see on the screen, those were based on the results of that goal setting session in previous December. And then those same goals were then used by staff during the fiscal year 2020-2021 budget process to make sure that the funding was then aligned with what you all were looking to accomplish over the year. Staff would then quarterly report on the progress. To do that, the progress tracker that you'll see on your screen, which uses a stoplight method, green means go, yellow means moving but slow, and red means stopped or off the tracks, if you will. And as you'll see over the year, we were primarily green. We were able to make a lot of progress related to the goals identified by the Township Board. So now, just to highlight each individually, we'll get a little bit more specific, but if you'll remember, goal number 1 was to reformat the budget. I'm very proud to share that on June 10, the Township Board adopted a reformatted budget. So I would say that that goal would be able to be considered complete. In regard to goal number 2, millage planning, the Township Board discussed materials on several occasions over the last year, specifically related to millage planning. And then in October, directed staff to work with legal counsel to prepare budget language related to an anticipated renewal of the cemetery millage. And I'm pleased to share that those materials will actually be brought before you later on in this meeting. So that status is ongoing, but close to completion. Goal 3, general fund and operating budget planning. This goal is one that is still ongoing, but it was discussed at several points during the last year by the Township Board. And part of the reason that I would consider this ongoing and more of a yellow is due to some unforeseen changes last year, specifically related to the Allegan County tax limitation proposal. At that point, I know the township pivoted a little bit and waited to see the result of that. At this point, information has been shared with you all on the implications and is awaiting further guidance from the Township Board on what you all would like to do in regard to this goal. Goal number 4 was related to reviewing connection fees and the REU schedule. As you all are aware, the adopted budget contained funding to hire consultants to conduct a public water and wastewater rate study and connection fee review. This is ongoing. It kicked off in November and is moving forward. It's one of my goals before the end of next week to complete the capital improvement plan aspect of this project, which will then be able to be handed off to the financial consultant for some of the financial calculations. I would anticipate an update to be brought before the board in the next couple months. Goal number 5 was highlighted by the auditor just a minute ago, but it's to reduce pension liability. Again, this year, the Township Board allocated funding above and beyond the minimum required amount set by MERS, which has allowed our unfunded liability to decrease and our funding percentage to increase. I have identified that this is ongoing simply from the purpose of my suggestion would be this is something the Township Board consider to do moving forward to continue to slow and steadily address that unfunded pension liability. Moving on to goal number 6, the Blue Star Trail. Unfortunately, this is one of the goals that I would say progressed the least over the last year. I identified this as delayed, largely due to the impacts of COVID-19. However, as identified as anticipated actions, the township has participated in meetings of the Joint Study Committee, as well as had a special presentation back in March 2020 by the Friends of the Blue Star Trail. I'm also pleased to share that the committee has started to meet again. It met on December 30th, and the next meeting will also be this Friday, January 15th. So you could almost say it was delayed in 2020, but this is back to ongoing. The Kalamazoo Lake Harbor Authority, this was identified as a goal by the Township Board, and in November, the Township Board directed staff to prepare relevant materials to take next steps on this, and I'm pleased to share that these will be brought before you later in this meeting as well. So also continuing to progress. Ambulance service, I would think this is probably one of the highlights of 2020 for the Township Board. When the year started, we were in an interesting position in terms of what the future of ambulance service in the township would look like. We were able to implement a short-term stopgap agreement with AMR while we waited for a recommendation from the Emergency Services Committee. Special shout out to Tony Schippa, who's our representative on that committee. They were instrumental in this process last year, and then in June, the Township Board was able to authorize a multi-year agreement with Life Ambulance. And to this point, to my knowledge, service levels have been good, and we're continuing to fund this service with the special assessment that was approved by the board again in October. Goal number 9, host a tri-community meeting. This was another one of our goals that was delayed largely due to COVID-19. However, this was discussed on several occasions by the Township Board, and my understanding will still be high on the priority list moving forward. Goal number 10 was to upgrade facilities. This was one of the more ambitious goals that the Township Board acknowledged last year, and I'm pleased to share that we were able to do a lot of the prep groundwork in 2020, both sharing some summary information with the Township Board to help them understand a little bit more about the history and maintenance costs related with our current facilities, as well as to prepare a draft maintenance and replacement schedule. But this will also be one of our goals that excitingly will be able to be advanced more rapidly moving forward. Goal 11 was to review the Tri-Community Master Plan. This happened at several occasions over the last year, as well as continuing to be ongoing. But in terms of the actions that were outlined in the plan, it's acknowledged as complete. The zoning administrator attended the Township Board meeting in May 13 and presented a memorandum she put together highlighting some specific aspects related to the master plan. That information was then shared with the Planning Commission and continues to be discussed. There were subcommittees developed to attempt to advance and really implement some of the items acknowledged by the zoning administrator's memo. And lastly, I'm pleased to share that we will be hosting a joint Planning Commission Township Board meeting next Tuesday, January 19th. Goal number 12, rebid professional services and contractors. This goal shifted a little bit during 2020, but the Township Board was able to review at several different meetings materials prepared by staff. And then in September, the Township Board used the prepare materials to direct staff to continue to focus on updating the service master list and developing contracts with the current contractors that we have. I would anticipate this will continue to be reviewed annually by the Township Board, and at a certain point, rebidding professional services can be considered again. Goal number 13, Administrative Policy Handbook. This was another success that staff's particularly proud of, as it allows staff to continue to work with the confidence that it's in the realm of what is appropriate as designated by the Township Board in these adopted policies. This was also the third of the Township's new trilogy of handbooks that have been adopted over the last 18 months, including a personal policy handbook, financial policy handbook, and administrative policy handbook. This handbook was adopted on April 8th, so this goal could be considered complete. We're getting towards the end. As you can see, we had quite an ambitious list last year. Goal 14 was to evaluate the township's position on the North Shores of Saugatuck development. This was discussed at several different meetings, and on 2 occasions in 2020, the township board directed staff to work with legal counsel to prepare written comments to submit to the Army Corps of Engineers. That happened both in February and December of 2020. I would anticipate that staff and the township board continue to monitor this project closely due to its implications for the broader area. But in terms of what was specifically outlined as goals or anticipated action for staff last year, I would consider this complete. Goal 15, establish a wellhead protection ordinance. This is an ongoing item. In July, the township board directed staff to prepare a sample wellhead protection ordinance, and it has been discussed by the Planning Commission on several occasions since then. My understanding is the Planning Commission will consider an updated draft at the meeting later this month. And then lastly, goal 16, Lakeshore Drive. This one I outlined a little bit different, more in terms of long-term and short-term. But as I've shared with you all before, I'm pleased with the progress related to Lakeshore Drive. On the short term, Allegan County continues to work with an engineering firm to decide about short-term route and emergency access. And in the long term, in December, the Township Board adopted a resolution supporting a grant application, and we are currently waiting to hear if that application will be selected for funding or not. Moving on to just conclude, and I understand we have a long agenda, so I won't belabor this much more, but I just want to share that overall, I'm very proud, and on behalf of the township staff, I think they should be very proud of the progress that was made last year in accordance with all of your goals. As I've said on several occasions, it was a very ambitious list, and at the end of the day, I think we were able to move many of them forward quite successfully, even with the challenges of 2020. When these goals were adopted in February, I don't think any of us could have imagined the impacts of COVID and remote work and the rest of the year. And with that, we were still able to advance a lot of these topics. So with that, in terms of next steps, I just encourage the board to continue to prioritize priority setting. We've worked with another facilitator this year, and we'll talk a little bit more later in the agenda about what that may look like for 2021. I'm happy to answer any questions or go into more detail on these topics, but I would just like to say, thank you to the rest of the township staff, all of the individuals who work on our boards and commissions, and to you all on board. This is a team effort. We're not able to do any of this without working together as a team. And lastly, really just want to thank you all for your continued leadership on these items. So I am happy to turn it back over to the supervisor unless there are any questions or concerns related to any of these items.
Does anyone have any questions for Mr. Graham?
Yeah, Griffin, it's John. Excuse me. First of all, that was fantastic summary and overview and excellent timing as we start formulating the goal plan for 2021. I just wondered, this presentation you did tonight, are you going to be able to share that with us?
I'm happy to, yes.
Yeah, because it's one of those things we should look at, fairly regularly, and appreciate that.
Absolutely.
Thanks.
Thank you, John. Is there anyone else who has any questions or comments for Mr. Graham? I'm not seeing anybody raise their hand. So thank you, Mr. Graham, for doing. I think our next agenda item is public comments. So this is the time and the place for anybody from the public who wants to make any comments. This is the time and the place to do it. Get my attention, unmute yourself, and then I'll recognize you to be able to speak. Try to keep your comments to 3 minutes. And it's not a question and answer session. It's an opportunity for you to share information with the board. Is there anybody that would like to make a comment? Anybody at all from the public?
I think Becky's raising her hand, Cindy.
Okay. Okay, thank you. Becky, you have the floor.
Okay, thank you, Cindy. Thank you for your meeting tonight. I mean, two very good reports. That was really a lot of material to listen to, and I appreciate hearing both from both speakers. I'm very interested in remaining on the Board of Review, and I know you'll be appointing people to that board this evening. So I just wanted to tell you that. And I had one other, and I've really enjoyed working on the Board of Review, by the way. It's been really nice, and I understand that I have, we all have a commitment to ongoing education with some new rules, and I look forward to that too. Second, I would just like to say that Griffin, I thought that report was really relevant to a cross application with planning and the ZBA and with the township. And so could it be available to us too? And I know I'm not asking you the question, but I'm asking if you could make it available to us, or I would especially like it. I would just like to devour it a little more, but I thought it was excellent work. So thank you. That's it.
Thank you, Becky. I'm sure that Griffin can accommodate getting you a copy of that presentation.
Thank you.
Is there anyone else that would like to speak? I see members of the public out there, but I don't see them raising their hands.
Yeah,
Do you have any?
Mr. Harry Adams has raised his hand.
Okay, Harry, you have the floor.
Good evening. I just tried to figure out how to do that. I just wanted to say I'm Harry Adams. I submitted an application for one of the current openings on the Zoning Board of Appeals or the Board of Review. And I also have spoken to Becky today regarding participating on the new Housing Committee. So I just wanted to introduce myself and look forward to participating in some form.
Thank you, Mr. Adams.
Thank you.
Is there anyone else that would like to speak?
Sorry, I haven't figured out how to get my hand up, but this is Patrick.
Patrick, you have the floor.
I'm still here. I have to apologize. I'm recovering from COVID. My IQ is certainly below 80. I'll try to make it short. I just want to state that first, I shouldn't be saying this tonight, but this board has really done itself well, and I think it's important for somebody besides board members and the people serving the board members to say that. If it was a business, there'd be some real pleasantly pleased stockholders. So I want to just say that. Main reason I'm talking is just to let you know I'm still interested in the ZBA. If I'm appointed, I'll do the work and do it independently and as well as I can. And that's it. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Stewart. Well said. Is there anyone else that's trying to get our attention? Mr. Graham, do you see anybody?
Not that I see.
Denise, maybe? Denise, do you want to say something?
I'm just here as, again, I have put an application in to be on either your ZBA or Board of Review, and I'm just happy to be a resident, a new resident of your township, and happy to participate as a resident in any way I can. And I thank you for considering my application.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Denise. It certainly is impressive application. Is there anybody else that would like to speak? I see we have a few more that haven't yet. Elaine?
Just as a friendly reminder, any of those who are muted, feel free and unmute yourself. That's normally the bottom left-hand corner. You can unmute yourself if you'd like to speak.
Daniel, did you have something to add at this public comment time? I'm hearing nothing. And Carolyn, did you want to make any comments? Jessica? No. Mark? No,
I'm not seeing any.
not seeing anybody. Last chance, anybody want to speak? Okay, we'll move on then to our next, close the public comment section and move on to our review of invoices. Everybody had a chance to review the invoices.
I didn't see anything out of the ordinary.
Would you like to make a motion?
Yes, I'd make a motion. I'd move to approve all bills and payroll in the amount of $372,360.83 as presented.
I'll support that.
Cindy, you're muted if you're trying to speak.
Is there any further discussion on the invoices?
If I can make one quick comment, just to acknowledge the large amount this month, that's specifically related to the invoices from the road commission for the 2020 road projects.
Mhm.
Any other discussion? If not, I'll call the roll. Aldrich,
Yes.
Helmrich,
Yes.
Bigford,
Yes.
Marcy,
Yes.
and Osmond, yes. Motion carries. So we can move on to the treasurer's report. John, are you ready to have the floor?
Okay, I'll take it. Thank you, Ms. Osmond. So I apologize that we're doing so many financial things today with the audit and such, but I mean, the bottom line is it's such a positive picture. We should enjoy the time it's taking. So here's my report for today. This is based on our financials for this fiscal year through the month of December, which is also the halfway point in our fiscal year. The general fund bank balance is at was at $2.4 million. You might note that there's a significant increase there because in the middle of December, as we all voted and approved, we liquidated the certificate of deposit, our sole investment that we had with TCF Bank. We liquidated it on the maturity date because we found out how much lower the interest rate would be moving forward. So that $766,000 is currently sitting in the general fund. So it probably won't all be there next month, but that's why the total went up so much. On the more actual side, budget and spending, total revenue year to date is 20% below budget, but our expenses are also 23% below budget. If you just look at the general fund only, revenue is 6.4% below budget and expenses are 1.7% below budget. We started collecting on the winter tax bills that we started collecting December 1st include the various millages and revenue that flows directly to the township. So that revenue gap will tighten up as we move forward as the tax returns come in. We remain with no departmental overages at all across all of the budget that need to be discussed or acted upon. So as we've heard already, the fiscal state of the township is excellent. The TCF CD that I mentioned earlier that we liquidated, it's now down to zero, and I will not be reporting on this investment in the future because we'll be making new ones. We did, as you know, move $1 million into the class account that most townships in the state of Michigan use for investments. That increased to $65 in the month of December. Winter tax collections, as I said, began on December 1st, and through the end of the month, the end of the year, we had already received payment on 41% of our billed properties. As you know, these bills are not due until February 16th, so that was a very strong and early return rate. And we're still getting some overdue summer payments that are continuing. So that leads to the action we need to take relative to, as the money comes in, we have to disperse it twice a month to our various disbursement partners, such as Allegan County, the various schools, library, interurban. There are many more. There are 10 disbursement partners with the winter bills. But we will be taking a vote. I've done a 10th disbursement for summer, which totaled just $107,000 because the incoming revenue for summer bills is much smaller now. But we made our first winter disbursement, $392,000. Those two have both been made. And winter number 2 will be going out by the end of the week or on Monday. And this is a big one, matching in incoming revenue. This will be for $1.8 million. And we need to vote to approve the 2 that have been made already this month and the one that will be made later in the month. If you're interested, excuse me, or have questions, the next 3 colorful pages with all my different highlighting, that's just to show you the breakdown. So where does every penny of this disbursement go? How much goes to the different schools? How much goes to the county or the interurban or our cemetery fund? So if you have any questions, you can ask them now or later, but the detail is there. And I would just ask if there's any questions on my report before we vote on the disbursements.
Is there any questions for John?
Hearing none, I'd like to make a motion that the Saugatuck Township Board approve the number 10 summer disbursement, the number 1 winter disbursement, and the number 2 winter disbursement, which
Is there support for that motion?
you can see the total, but those are the individual figures.
This is Aldrich, I'll support.
Motion by Helmrich, supported by Aldrich. Is there any further discussion about the disbursements? Hearing none, I'll call the roll. Helmrich,
Yes.
Aldrich,
Yes.
Bigford,
Yes.
Marcy,
Yes.
Osmond, yes. Motion carries unanimously. And we can move on to the minutes. I hope everybody's had a chance to look over the voluminous minutes that are very thorough, and I appreciate that. Thank you, Abby. Does anybody have any comments or questions about the minutes? No comments for Abby about the minutes. Is there anyone that would like to make a motion?
This is Aldrich.
Okay, go ahead.
Oh, I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
I move to approve the minutes of the December 9, 2020 regular meeting as presented.
And there's support.
Marcy, second.
Okay, we have a motion by Aldrich, supported by Marcy. Is there any further discussion about the minutes? If not, I'll call the roll. Aldrich,
Yes.
Marcy,
Yes.
Osmond, yes. Helmrich,
Yes.
Bigford,
Yes.
motion carries unanimously. So we can move on to our correspondence. We had 3 correspondences. Kathy Sturm was regarding the historic district. She wanted to clear up what she stated at the last meeting. The Scott Beltman letter is in support of a countywide ORV ordinance. And Thomas Bergen, could you tell us about that, Mr. Graham? I don't think I have that one in my packet.
Sure, yep. Bergen's letter came in after the packet was distributed. It's specifically in regard to the top grade sand mining operation on Old Allegan and 133rd.
Okay, thank you. Unfinished business. We have a couple of items in unfinished business. We have Board of Review appointments. And I think we have a couple of applications at least.
Madam Supervisor, I do need to give an update on this item if I can.
Yes, please.
So Miss Jan Shishagway has withdrawn her application for consideration. So just Township Board, please take that into consideration when you're considering the applications included in your packet.
So we have 2 openings then?
Yes, that is, all 3 are technically open, but Becky Israels is applying for reappointment. So yes, that would be Jan and Chris are both not seeking reappointment.
Well, I'd like to say thank you to Chris and Jan for their many, many years of service on this board and other boards. I know that Chris was also on the Planning Commission, and he's ready to let somebody else have this, to fill this seat. So is there any, I think I have a Denise Webster, Harry Adams, and Rebecca Israels, and not Jan. Mark St. Amour. So if any of you would like to speak to the board and tell us a little bit about why you want to be on Board of Review, that would be very helpful. Mark?
Yeah, certainly. Thank you for the opportunity. I would have said during the comment section publicly who I was. I just understand that that's really for like Saugatuck Township business, and I didn't want to necessarily introduce myself then. I wanted to wait till the appropriate time. So apologize if that came off as being rude. So my name is Mark St. Amour. My pronouns are they, them, their. And me and my family just moved like literally down the street from y'all on Blue Star Highway just about under a year ago. And I'm really excited about this opportunity. So I've been serving on boards and doing various nonprofit work for a total about 10 years now. And I took about a year and a half off when the pandemic started and to help with the family a little bit there. So I'm just kind of excited to get back into the mix of things. My background is that I come from 15 years plus of business development and entrepreneurship. I've started about 13 businesses nationally. And then from there, I actually switched careers over to higher ed, and I have worked in social justice education. My current role at Grand Valley State University is kind of twofold. So I'm a sort of national presenter speaker on social justice education and the LGBTQIA+ community. So I do various trainings, presentations, research, etc. And then another bucket is that I help in enrollment development, making sure that we can recruit and retain marginalized populations. So I work again a lot with the LGBTQIA+ communities, BIPOC individuals, which is Black, Indigenous, and then people of color. And so I think my experience is kind of 3 buckets, is 1, heavily in the business realm, and then sort of ironically, heavily in the social justice realm. And then I just think I have a unique perspective because I just hold a lot of intersecting marginalized identities. So for example, I am Mexican Indigenous, so I'm a person of color. My people come from northern Mexico, southern Texas. My ancestry dates all the way back to the Aztecs, pre-colonialism. I'm transgender, so I think that's fairly unique. So I don't identify with my gender that was assigned at birth. Like I said, my pronouns are they, them, their. So that it gives a unique perspective. I have 3 kids that all go to school here, a dog, a cat, and just sort of raising a blended family. All of us in our family identify as queer. And so, again, not that I want to make myself really about singularly my marginalized identities, but I highlight them because, again, I think that the reason we moved to Saugatuck Township and Saugatuck City is we're really renowned for really welcoming the LGBTQI+ community. And we were really looking for a place to raise our family that was progressive and welcoming. And I've got to say, we've really experienced that so far. We even had an issue when we first moved here, and I actually remember calling Griffin on the phone about it. So I just have to say, like, every interaction we've had so far with the community has been pleasant. And when I saw this open up, I just thought it was a perfect opportunity. So I thought I would apply. And now I've rambled a ton, so I apologize. I am definitely open to any questions, but that's sort of me in a nutshell. Thank you so much.
Does anybody have any questions for Mark? Thank you. That was a very thorough and complete introduction. I think we also have a Denise Webster. I'm sorry.
Yes, good evening. I don't
I
really have.
think it was a board comment, sorry.
Is that I'm just a recent resident. I retired from Central Michigan University in April, and I've moved down here to Saugatuck. And as you can see, my application in my 30-some years up in the mid-Michigan area, I've been very involved with either the city of Mount Pleasant or the county, Isabella County, or Deerfield Township, or Union Township. So I've been more than willing to be a participating citizen within the community. My background is I started at Central Michigan in mid-'80s, and I'm an athletic trainer actually, and then I was a faculty member in our athletic training program. And through the years, I was very much involved with several committees at the university. So I understand what it means to be on a committee and listening and being involved with the workings of any board or committee that you're involved in. So I placed my name in both for the Board of Review or Zoning Board, and whatever that you feel is appropriate for what I can provide the township, I'm more than happy to serve.
You didn't, either one of you, Mark or Denise, didn't really care which one you were in or have a preference at all, or?
Well, again, as you can see my application, I've been very much involved with the zoning board and planning commissions through my years. So that certainly is a strength, but certainly if there's someone else that have possibly been in this community much longer than I have been, I certainly understand and where that appointment might be, and I'd be happy to serve on either board.
Okay, thank you. What about you, Mark? Anything you would rather be involved in?
I agree with Denise. I think anytime I offer to serve, whether it's the community or a nonprofit or whomever, I really want to be of service, right? And not necessarily say, well, I only want to serve if it's this. Right. So I trust y'all to review the applications and to know the right people and where they fit based upon your needs. So if you find that I fit in one more than the other or neither or whatever, I trust y'all to make that decision.
Okay, thank you.
This is Bigford. Cindy, I think we still need to hear from Becky Israels and
Becky.
Harry Adams, but also, can you speak to the training requirements associated with this position? And then if we could hear from those who've already spoke and those who are about to speak on their willingness or ability to fulfill those training requirements.
Sure, thanks, Abby. The state statute was amended a couple of years ago about Board of Review and assessing reform. And Board of Review members are now required to attend training sessions that can be several hours. And they have to do it, I think, once a year at this time. But they are often, recently anyway, have been Zoom meetings, so you don't have to drive and stay overnight anyplace. So I know that Rebecca Israels has already attended one last year. So I guess what Abby's asking is, would you be willing to attend a training in addition to the meetings?
If I could speak, yes, and realizing that up in the county that I've attended several different trainings associated with planning. So yes, I understand the need for attending those meetings.
Thank you.
And I would say the same, absolutely the same on my end. Coming from higher education, and I'm sure Denise will agree with this, we're lifetime learners, right? Always looking to learn more and to expand and be the best version of myself I can be. So things like that are actually exciting to me. So very much more so willing to do that.
Thank you. Harry, I believe, has indicated that he would like to be considered for Zoning Board of Appeals or Planning Commission. And since we're on Board of Review right now, we'll stick to that until we get to the next page here. So did I miss anybody? I have a stack of papers here that's higher than my elbow, so.
Are we gonna hear from Rebecca?
Yes. Would you like me to speak to?
Yeah.
I would love to. So I'm very interested in being on this board again, being reappointed. I think that it was a learning curve for me in the beginning, and the training I thought went very well that we attended for this, and I learned quite a bit. I think one of the real benefits is that I've become better acquainted with the community and people in the community, not just people, but the various areas of the community too. So I appreciate that. And I really think that working with Kyle Harris has been a good experience. And I so appreciated learning from Jan and Chris Lozano. So I'm sad to know that they won't be on the board any longer. My past experience, just briefly, is that I was a nurse administrator for 20 years. And also in my spare time, I was on Holland City Council as a councilman. And when I did find myself with a little more time in Saugatuck, I tried to get involved with different things here. So I think the Planning Commission has given me some experience in working with the township and the board, and I would like to continue it in some way or another, but definitely that choice is up to you. I would like to say one additional thing is that there will be opportunity for people to get involved as we go through this planning with the Planning Commission and the Township Board next week. And the Planning Commission has identified 3 different areas and teams. And as I talk to people in the community about what we're trying to do and look towards in the future, there's so much excitement from the community and about being on these boards and working with them. And so I would strongly urge anyone who's wanting to get involved and maybe doesn't get appointed right away to just think about being on one of these committees too, that will be looking at the Blue Star Corridor in the future and character of the township and housing and residential opportunities and how we might look at that differently. So those are other things that I would just encourage people to get on board. You can be on a board and be appointed to any position and still be part of that. So that's my plug. Thank you.
Thank you, Becky.
You're welcome.
Is there anybody that I missed that wants to be on Board of Review?
Madam Supervisor, I believe, even though it's not acknowledged on his application, I believe Mr. Adams wanted to be considered for both positions, if you want to give him an opportunity to speak.
Sure. Harry, you have the floor.
Hello. That application was actually submitted last year for a couple of your other positions, and I called and talked to Griffin the other day about resubmitting it for the 2 opening ones that are current. I'm a recent resident of Saugatuck Township. I moved from Chicago a year and a half ago when I retired to out here on Old Elegant Road. We've owned the property here for 7 years and just love it. I grew up on the other side of the state in Port Huron, Michigan, or St. Clair Township. Familiar with Michigan and happy to be back. Actually, just happy to be out of Chicago. As I said, I retired last year as Director of Business process improvements at a large printing manufacturing company. Over my career of 40 years, I've gone from operations at a Fortune 500 company in their advertising marketing department to the manufacturing side about 15 years ago, and held director of operations positions at both companies. I'm just looking for some participation with the community. I've got some free time right now, or all the time, and just want to use my background and abilities to help you.
Thank you, Harry.
Thank you.
So we have an abundance of good applications here. And I wondered if there was any discussion, or I would be happy to hear a motion.
Cindy, one more clarification. We need, did you say Jan Shishagway is not interested in Board of Review?
That's
Okay,
correct.
because her application's here and it was confusing to me.
So she changed her mind. She's been on.
Oh, okay, I just
She's
wanted
been
to
on
make
the-
sure I'd hate to yeah, I just wanted to double check. That's the
Yep.
facts. Okay, so we need 2 for Board of Review and
We need 3 for Board of Review because
3 for Board.
Rebecca's term is expired. So
Do you want to do them one at a time? Is that the best way, or?
it's up to whoever wants to make the motion.
Before we make a motion, I'd like to make a quick comment to the applicants, in particular to Harry, Mark, and Denise. As newcomers, I want to welcome you to our township and our community. It's really heartening for us to see people that are new to the area wanting to get involved in our government, because sometimes it's difficult to get people, and especially hard to get good quality people. And I think the slate we're looking at today is extremely qualified, interesting, and we applaud diversity efforts very much so in the township. It's been a hallmark of this board the last couple of years in many ways. So I just wanted to say that, and thank you all so much for stepping forward before we figure out who can go where. Thank you all. And I don't have to say this, but I will. But Becky I'm one of her biggest fans. She's chair of our planning commission. She's done a terrific job on the Board of Review. And I think she's probably surprised to see that she's the only one of the 3 that wants to stay on at this juncture, but that's okay. We're all for tapping into new talent. So thanks again, everyone.
I would like to make a motion to appoint Becky Israel to the Board of Review. If you want to do them one at a time.
Sure, that's fine. Is there support for that?
I'll support it.
Okay, any further discussion about Ms. Israel's? Hearing none, I'll call the roll. Aldrich,
Yes.
Helmrich,
Yes.
Bigford,
Yes.
Marcy,
Yes.
Osmond, yes. Motion carries unanimously. So I'm ready for another motion.
I would make a motion to appoint Mark St. Amor? Is that how you pronounce it?
Yes,
To the
it's
Board of-
Mark St. Amor.
Amor,
St.
okay. To the point of review or Board of Review.
Is there support?
This is Bigford. I'll support.
Any further discussion about Mr. St. Amor? Hearing none, I'll call the roll. Aldrich,
Yes.
Bigford,
Yes.
Helmrich,
Yes.
Marcy,
Yes.
Osmond, yes. Motion carries unanimously. And we need one
So-
more.
Cindy, do we need, how many on the zoning?
I'm going to defer that to Griffin.
I mean, do we know how many you're gonna? Yeah, okay. I
There's
just was curious.
one opening on the zoning board of appeals.
Right.
Okay,
That was the Mike O'Brien position.
yes, all right.
Did he
Well, then
move
you
up?
guys.
Just the one.
Go ahead, guys.
This is
Well,
Bigford.
If I can, I just encourage you all, there are different applicants for that position. So I just encourage you to consider those separately.
I know, I just wanted to make sure that I was getting, I mean, you know, the big picture here, that knew what's coming.
Okay,
This is
Abby, you have the floor.
I move to appoint Denise Webster to the Saugatuck Board of Review for a term of 2 years, January 1st, 2021 through December 31st, 2022.
Thank you. Is there support?
I'll support.
Okay,
This is
motion by-
Marcy. I'll second.
Oh, you froze.
Are we there? I'm having trouble, so
Yeah,
yeah. I'm
I seconded it because you froze. Sorry.
I have a motion by Bigford and support from Helmrich. Is there any further discussion about Denise? Hearing none, I'll call the roll. Bigford,
Yes.
Aldrich,
Yes.
Helmrich,
Yes.
Osmond, yes, and Marcy.
yes.
Motion carries unanimously. So we can move on to our zoning board of appeals applicants.
Can I ask a question, please? This is Marcy.
Yes, you have the floor.
Thank you, Cindy. Okay, refresh my memory. Now on this one, we appoint one person, there's one opening, Mike's opening, and do we appoint an alternate or
We-
not?
We can do that one of two ways. I think the alternate is one of the applicants. And they could be, oh, Griffin, can you help me with this?
Is that,
Yes, so there's currently one opening on the zoning board of appeals,
Right.
and we already have the 2 alternate positions filled. However, one of the
Oh.
applicants for the zoning board of appeals position is Patrick Stewart, and he's a longtime alternate. So if you were to appoint Mr. Stewart to the
Oh,
zoning
okay.
board of appeals, it would also be appropriate if you would want to appoint someone
Okay.
to fill that then vacant position as an alternate.
does Mr. Stewart agree to
Okay.
go to the permanent position?
Yes, he's applied to it.
Yeah, he
My
applied.
understanding
Okay, oh, is that what he applied for? Okay, I
Patrick-
didn't know if he knew he was
Is
getting
Patrick
something.
here tonight?
Yes, Patrick, can you unmute yourself and give us a little introduction?
Let's hear from Mr. Stewart if we could. Let's see, we moved here coming on 9 years ago. I have to say that we've really stuck to the community. It's been a wonderful, wonderful experience. I think I've stayed in the community we lived in 60 years too. I have a history of business in the specialty chemicals industry, several companies that I founded. Most recently, the last 25 years, a sustainable commerce company making environmentally preferable commercial cleaning products that are marketed nationally. A bunch of young people running the business now. They're a lot smarter than I ever was. I think my business and life experience makes me pretty well suited to do this. I've had a lot of legal experience, and this is a job that's pretty legal in nature. I'm pretty much apolitical, so I don't have any axes to grind one way or the other. I think I can be fair, and I've tried to always do the work whenever I've done something. So I'll do the work and pay attention and be independent with this job. I think I can serve it well.
Thank you, Patrick. Harry, would you like to make another few little comments about zoning board and whether or not you'd be willing to serve as alternate?
Yes, either the zoning or the board of reviews was seemed challenge for me. I do want to say that over the past 25 years, I've lived in a condo in different locations. And during that whole time, I've been a participating member of the board, principally in the position of either treasurer or president. So I do have quite a bit of experience working with people, along with working at the companies I've worked with. Being in operations, you're touching everybody's department and coordinating a lot of information back and forth. So the zoning board would be appealing to me.
Okay, thank you, Harry. Those are our two applications that I found in my giant stack of paper. Did I miss anyone who wanted to be on the Board of Review? Excuse me, Board of Appeals, zoning board of appeals. Sorry.
Did apply for it as well. I don't know if she's interested in both or.
Who? Could you
Denise Webster did apply to both.
Oh, they all kind of did.
So I don't know.
Yes, I would be happy, you know, whatever you feel, you know, I'm happy to do either. So, you know, and or so
Well, you're on the
again,
board.
I just leave it up to you.
Well, okay.
Again, I have a lot of experience on the planning and zoning, so certainly I do have that experience. And if there's an alternate position and you need someone to serve in an alternate position, I'd be happy to serve in that as well.
Thank you, Denise.
Thank you.
Any other further clarifications or questions? Okay, I would entertain a motion.
I move to appoint Patrick Stewart to the Saugatuck Township Zoning Board of Appeals to complete a vacant term of 3 years, July 1, 2020 to June 30th, 2023. And move, is there a, or do we vote on that first? Okay.
We can vote on that and then we can move on to the alternate.
Okay.
Thank you.
Marcy, I'll second.
Okay, I have motion by Aldrich, supported by Marcy. And is there any more discussion? Hearing none, I'll call the roll. Aldrich,
Yes.
Marcy,
Yes.
Osmond, yes. Helmrich
Yes.
and Bigford.
Yes.
Motion carries unanimously. Do we have a,
I'd like to make a motion.
Go ahead.
Yes, okay.
yes, you have the floor.
All right. I would like to move that we appoint Harry Adams as the alternate to the Zoning Board of Appeals for a 3-year term.
Is there support?
Yes.
Marcy,
Oh.
I'll support. Oh.
Okay, I have a motion by Helmrich, supported by Marcy, to appoint Mr. Adams as the alternate on the Zoning Board of Appeals. Is there any more discussion? Okay.
One thing I would like to say is I hope that all the candidates, you know, these won't take a lot of times, and there are a lot of areas to get involved here, and that's what we're looking for. So, you know, maybe if it's an alternate isn't enough, we can find you a little spot somewhere else. So if you're open to that, keep your applications and we can call you if we have a committee or something. Does that sound good or?
Yes, there are sometimes resignations for whatever reason. And we do like to keep your applications on file for at least a year so we can fill those spots. Any other discussion? Hearing none, I'll call the roll. Helmrich,
Yes.
Marcy,
Yes.
Osmond, yes. Aldrich,
Yes.
Bigford,
Yes.
motion carries unanimously. So let's see.
Congratulations, everyone. I'm really
And thank
happy
you.
with everybody's energy and just how how much you look forward to serving, and we look forward to getting to know you. And just thanks again for serving. It's not a terribly glamorous or well-paid job, so thanks for stepping up to help out.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, now we can move on to new business. We have a draft of a 2021 strategic action plan. It is a very ambitious plan and a lot of information to take in. So I'm wondering if anybody would like to discuss that.
Can I don't know if we have to make a motion to do this. I feel like I need more time with this, and it's huge. And I would move that we table this until perhaps next month, or a special meeting just devoted to the strategic plan.
So I have a motion to table to either a special meeting or
Yes.
the next regular meeting. Is there support?
I'll support that.
Madam Supervisor, can I make a comment before taking a vote on the motion?
Yes.
We do have Mr. Larry Nielsen here, who, as you all know, facilitated the various activities to develop these plans. If it would be appropriate, can we give Mr. Nielsen just a few minutes to comment on anything he may think relevant for you all while working through these and deciding next steps?
Certainly. Mr. Nielsen, you have the floor.
Thank you, Supervisor. I appreciate the opportunity. And yes, you're right. It is a big goal that you have set for the coming year. I suggested that it might even be a 2-year plan, that you may want to take a look at some of those items as this year goal and carry over into next year goal as well. I think it would be good if you spend more time reading through both the report from the visioning exercises and then the strategic action plan before you. Feel free to give me a call. We can Zoom individually or as a group if you have questions while you're looking at it. It's structured a little bit differently than you may be used to, with visions and then goals and actions under each of those, which gives each of you as a member of the board an opportunity to champion one of those visions and be that following and monitor to keep it in the attention for the whole board. So it doesn't seem so massive for all of you for all 5 of those visions, plus all of the goals left over from the prior year and the new ones you wanted to add. So I would be very open to a special meeting to spend time on this, because you've had a long meeting and you've got more to consider, and it would be important to give it its proper due.
Thank you, Larry. That was very helpful. And I look forward to either scheduling a special meeting or taking it to our next regular meeting, depending on the agenda of that February meeting. So I have a motion by Marcy, second by Helmrich, to table this to either a special meeting or to our next regular meeting. We do need to adopt a strategic plan before we start on our budget goals. So we have some time, but
Okay.
we do have to do it.
Okay.
Is there any further discussion?
Yes, I'd like to, oh, sorry, it's Helmrich. I
John?
would like to add to Mr. Nielsen. First of all, I want to thank you. I mean, you did so much in-depth hard work in a very short amount of time, working with people you've never met and during the challenge of COVID and all. So I really want to really thank you and applaud you and hope you don't take this motion of delaying a little bit as any kind of slight towards our passion for doing this and our respect for the work you've done. It's
Oh
all
gosh, no.
January's off to a, everyone thought 2021 would be so much better than 2020. Well, guess what? So far, it's been a lot worse. And
Here we are.
we're dealing internally with some staff changes.
Right.
On a brighter point, next Tuesday, this board and this planning commission for the first time are having the annual joint meeting, which we're
great.
diligently, preparing for. And it struck me, and this is something important for you to hear, that working with the zoning administrator and the chair of the PC, Ms. Israels, and then reading what you gave us 3 days ago, there is so much overlap, and that's a good thing. I mean, so much of the vision and the goals are integrated. There's a few that are kind of not a planning commission issue, but overall, the timing's great, and we are really excited about moving forward on both fronts. So I just wanted to be really clear about that with you, and thank you again.
Well, it was a real pleasure working with you through all of the virtual exercises that way. It's a delight to work with a board that has so much respect for each other and willing to listen and hear all options and consider all options and work as a team. Doesn't mean you all rubber stamp each other's ideas, but you work as a team to arrive at what's best for Saugatuck Township and all of the residents and all of the businesses. I can tell you that's not always the case. There are some municipalities that you are probably aware of that have divisions, and working with those on a strategic action plan is much more challenging than working with this one. So I would be glad to, if you decide on a special meeting, that would be great. And if it's the February meeting, I think that's on, I forget, the 10th of February, I believe. That would be fine as well. We just need to give it some proper time so we can have a discussion on it.
Thank you, Larry. I really appreciate that. I know that you've worked really hard on it, so we look forward to just polishing it off at our special meeting or our February meeting.
Terrific. Thank you. You've all worked very hard on it as well.
Thank you. Is there any more discussion about the draft strategic action plan? Okay, I'll call the roll. Marcy?
Yes.
Helmrich?
Yes.
Bigford?
Yes.
Aldrich?
Yes.
Osmond? Yes. Motion carries unanimously. And we're ready to move on to our cemetery millage ballot language. I'm going to let Mr. Graham take the lead on this one. Griffin, you have the floor.
Absolutely. Thank you. And thanks, Larry, for taking the time to be here tonight. Moving on to cemetery ballot language, as we discussed briefly when going over last year's township board goals. In October, the township board directed staff to prepare draft ballot language for a cemetery millage renewal. That's what is before you all tonight. A few things for you all to consider in your deliberation is one, specifically regarding the ballot language, and that is, as proposed, the ballot language would renew and increase the millage to the original amount. There is the alternative of you all could decide to keep the currently reduced millage amount. My recommendation would be to consider renewing to the originally approved amount. It's a good practice and a good habit for the township board to start getting into. I'm happy to speak on that more if you all would prefer. Secondly, the other thing for the board to consider tonight is what ballot you all would like to see this millage renewal on if you decide to move forward with it. If you all would like to move forward with the May 2021 election, I would ask that you please consider approving the proposed resolution tonight, as the deadline is actually January 26th. I'm sorry, there was a mistake in my staff memo that's in the packet. I think I put February 9th. Yes, but it is January 26th. So we would need to get moving on that relatively quickly to make the May ballot. However, you also have the option to consider waiting for the August ballot. That would give you a few more months to discuss this topic if you're not prepared to move on it today. And the only other note I would put on that is, as you all are aware, that administrative costs can vary depending what ballot you put it on, based on what other items may or may not be on that ballot. So with that, before you all is a resolution for consideration that would finalize ballot language and move to place it on an upcoming ballot. I'm happy to answer any questions or do anything I can to help.
Does anybody have any questions for Mr. Graham?
Can I make a comment, Cindy?
Bickford, you have the floor.
Yeah. I contacted, my deputy clerk, Lori Babinski, contacted the county today, and there is nothing currently, there's nothing on the ballot for May. Hamilton's bond issue failed the last time around, so I called their administration office today and spoke with someone that was qualified to answer that question, and he advised me that they are not intending to go ahead with May, and it's to be announced for August. So my recommendation is my vote, put it on the August ballot so we're not incurring all those costs by putting it on May, all those election costs.
Okay.
Thank you, Abby. Is there any more questions, comments, or clarifications?
Yeah, I'm sorry, Abby.
John, you have the floor.
Thanks. What's the date in August? Do we know? Is it?
Okay, I think the calendar's included in this packet, right? So,
No. Let's see.
Let's see. Oh, this looks like it's just for the May 4 election. I don't know offhand when the August election is. The actual date.
Yeah.
It's usually the first Tuesday after the first Monday.
Yeah, that's what I thought. Griffin, I have a question. Do you happen to know the history of when and why the cemetery millage rate was lowered?
Can you clarify what you mean by why it was lowered? I mean, why it's been reduced from the original amount is due to Headley.
Oh, it was totally a Headley relay. Okay. I thought
Absolutely,
the language made it sound like the township board had decided to.
No,
so
it's like all our millages over time, they're reduced due to the Headley amendment.
Okay, thanks. So this would be the first reaction to the recently passed proposal.
No, this has absolutely nothing to do with the Allegan County tax limitation proposal.
Okay.
That was specifically in regard to our general fund.
So this is an example where we could just restore the Headley difference. Because
yes, you could put that proposal on the ballot. Yes.
I see. Okay.
Yeah. And as you'll see, in this, because it's a relatively small millage to begin with, the difference between a renewed amount is 0.224, as in its current form, it's 0.2135.
Yep.
That's also part of why staff's recommendation would be to renew, because it's a good practice to go back to the originally approved.
Right. No, I agree. No, thank you for making that distinction.
Can I get one clarification? Yeah, my internet is unstable, so it's going in and out. Abby, did you say that, so the May ballot would not incur the same high expenses as August? Or was it the other way around?
Other way around. If we put that on May, we would incur all of those election costs.
Okay.
The township would pay all of it, as far as I understand.
Okay.
If it's on August, and then I understand the school pays for it. So, or at least most of it.
Wouldn't that only affect?
Pardon me?
Wouldn't that only be proportionate to the amount, the portion of the township that's in Hamilton schools?
Oh, Right, since we have such low voters then. I guess, I don't know, there could be other things. August is a ways
Right.
off. That
No, I think that's what we're hoping, that maybe something else would come up to share costs. I think if it's just
Sure.
Hamilton, it wouldn't have that much impact.
Right, there's
I
how many,
prefer August just timing wise rather than purely on the cost front, but we have to do it, so.
so if we do prefer August, Griffin, do we have to take any action today?
If you all are comfortable with August, I think it'd be a good decision just to get it off your plates. You all could adopt the language today, select the August ballot, and then at that point, the rest of the work would just be administrative.
Okay.
So if you all are comfortable moving forward tonight, that would be my recommendation. If you decide to wait until August, the difference with May is you don't have to. You could decide to wait if you wanted to, whereas May you would need to act tonight.
Brenda?
Marcy, I'm happy to make a motion if
Sure.
you're ready.
I'm ready.
Okay, the only thing I don't have is what is the August date?
August 3rd.
Okay, I move to approve the adoption of resolution number 2021-01 to place a ballot proposal on the ballot for the August 2nd,
Third.
3rd, sorry,
Thank you.
election to renew the millage proposal that was previously approved by the township electors to raise funds for the operation, maintenance, repair, construction, and renovation of township cemeteries as presented.
Is there support?
This is Bigford. I'll support.
I have a motion by Marcy, supported by Bigford. Are there any further discussion? Hearing none, I'll call the roll. Marcy,
Yes.
Bigford,
Yes.
Aldrich,
Yes.
Helmrich,
Yes.
Osmond, yes. Motion carries unanimously. So we can get that completed and move on, put it in storage until the deadline for the August election. Mr. Graham, I will let you take this one as well, the settlement agreement. I did review it and I think it's a brilliant solution for a very difficult problem. So go ahead and you have the floor.
Thank you. As I think all of you are aware, there's some ongoing property maintenance issues in the township. One of them is specifically in regard to 6354 Old Allegan Road. Due to this situation, the township filed a civil infraction action against this property, seeking a court order for them to remedy the code violations. Based on several conversations with both the township's attorney and zoning administrator, in the interest of avoiding further costs and facilitating timely compliance, which at the end of the day, I think is all of our goal, we put together the proposed agreement for you all to consider. As outlined in the staff memo, this agreement would allow the township to provide this individual a commercial dumpster at the township's cost initially. That cost would then be reimbursed over time via a payment plan outlined in this agreement. The safeguard being if the individual misses payments, the township would have the opportunity to assess those costs on the individual's property tax bill. So essentially, it allows the township to assist this individual upfront in getting their property up to compliance. I'm happy to discuss it in more detail. One small clarification I would like to note. In the memo, I noted that I've spoken with the property owner on several occasions about the agreement, and he is in agreement. That's my understanding, or the best understanding I have at this time. To be as blunt as I can, I have spoken with this individual on several occasions, and I don't get the most clear answer or clear response in regard to the agreement. I know they are in favor of seeking assistance and ending the litigation, and this would be an opportunity to do that. So I'm comfortable at this time with the board considering approving this agreement and allowing staff to move forward with it, obviously assuming the property owner agrees.
Thank you, Mr. Graham. Is there any questions that remain, or shall we, or I'll hear a motion?
This is Bigford. I'll move to approve the proposed ordinance enforcement settlement agreement as it relates to 6354 Old Elgin Road, and authorize the township clerk and township supervisor to sign the agreement as applicable.
Thank you. Is there support?
I will support.
Okay, we have motion by Bigford, supported by Aldrich. Is there further discussion? Hearing none, I'll call the roll. Bigford? Aldrich?
Yes.
Helmrich?
Yes.
Marcy?
Yes.
Osmond? Yes. Motion carries unanimously. So our next item is the Kalamazoo Lake Harbor Authority Resolution and Agreement Amendments. I think probably either John or Griffin could lead off on this. I think what it is the invitation to join was extended, but we had to pay the costs for the amending the bylaws and rules of procedure and other documents that need to be amended that would allow the township to join this authority. And it looks like that is complete. So if we adopt the proposed amendments of these documents, adopt the resolution amending these documents, then all that's left is for the cities to authorize the joining. John, do you have anything that you want to add?
Yeah, one thing I want to say, I want to commend Griffin for hanging in with this, because it's been a long slog, and I think we're almost there. And at times, various parties between the two cities and us, the township, kind of may have lost some interest and then got more interested again. So I'm happy to see us get to this point. I did want to ask Mr. Graham, do we have an estimate at all on what the total cost we will incur for the document preparation?
I don't at this time. I'll know when we get the next bill.
Right, yeah, I'll see it too. That's true. Okay.
It did include significant time and work with the township attorney.
All right. But we knew it would. And I guess my only question, because I did read it all, the original and the new ones, and I'm curious, as if we were to approve this tonight, is the next step then it's sent back to the two city councils?
Correct, yes. So there was a resolution shared with you all earlier today. I apologize to not have it complete in time for the packet on Friday. If you all were to approve this resolution, which would in effect approve all of the amendment requests and clarify the conditions by which the township will join the authority, we will then, as staff, send these materials and the agreement that the two cities need to approve for everything to be finalized. But my understanding and the understanding of the township attorney is, if you all decide to move forward and adopt this resolution tonight, the township's then done. It will be on the plate of the two city councils to approve the agreement. If they both approve it, then we're good to go.
Okay. No, and I know you apologize, but not necessary, because I was able to read Council Fulci's response, so that was helpful to get before we talk about it. So we're confident that the concerns we had that we wanted to make sure we're in a new agreement are all incorporated here.
My understanding is these documents are going to be more than clear.
Okay.
Outlining the conditions by which the township is willing to join.
All right. Well, in that case, I'm happy to make a motion to approve the adoption of resolution number 2021-02, a resolution to join the Kalamazoo Lake Harbor Authority as presented.
Is there support?
I'll support. Brenda, your mics.
I know.
I always see her mouth moving. Or I could do this.
Motion by Helmrich, supported by Aldrich. Is there any further discussion? If not, I'll call the roll. Helmrich,
Yes.
Aldrich,
Yes.
Bigford,
Yes.
Marcy,
Yes.
Osmond, yes. Motion carries unanimously.
Congratulations. I know that's a big step. That's been a long time in the works.
Okay, moving on to 12E. We have a letter of resignation that we need to address. This is for the transition planning. So Griffin, I'll let you talk about this.
Sure. So for the township board, as you all are aware, on December 22nd, I submitted my resignation, my letter of resignation to the township board. In terms of action for you all to consider tonight, I'm asking for you all to please formally accept my letter of resignation and to approve or authorize payment for my accrued and unused vacation time as outlined in my employment agreement. All of this said will confirm that my last day of work with the township will be January 22nd, 2021, which is next Friday. Following that, this would also be an appropriate time for the township board to discuss any other matters related to transition planning. I know over the last week, staff's been working to negotiate an interim manager agreement with Mr. Joe Fry, who I believe is on the call. I also have a prepared motion for you all to consider in regard to an employment agreement with Mr. Fry. I'm happy to speak on any of these items in more detail when we get to them, but for now, that's probably enough.
Thank you, Griffin. Would anyone like to make a motion?
So if we vote to not accept the resignation letter, does that mean Griffin stays with us?
That's what I was just going to ask.
Well,
I vote no.
we need a lawyer. We need legal counsel on this one.
I think that either we accept it as it's written, where we pay his vacation time, or we can accept it without paying his vacation time. But that's not part of his, that wouldn't meet the requirements of the contract.
Sure.
So I would entertain a motion.
All right.
This is Marcy. I'll move. Or is it me?
Yep,
Yes.
I got Brenda.
All right. It is with great regret that I move to accept Township Manager Griffin Graham's resignation and approve payment for his accrued and unused vacation time to confirm that this is his last day of employment will be January 22nd, 2021.
Do I have support?
I support. That's Aldrich.
Is there any further discussion? I have something I would like to read.
I have something. Okay, go ahead.
This is from the Saugatuck Township Board, a proclamation number 21-0113-P1, Supervisor's Proclamation of Appreciation. Whereas Griffin Graham has served as the manager of the Township of Saugatuck since July of 2018, and whereas Griffin Graham untiringly devoted his time and talent to our community during a period of time that numerous projects were initiated through his leadership, which will continue to have a revitalizing and growing impact on our community far beyond his time in office. And whereas Griffin Graham has always been willing to place his concerns for the public good ahead of his personal interests, and thus has earned admiration and high regard of other civic leaders and the affection of area residents. Whereas Griffin Graham was unique in his sensitivity for doing what was best for the entire community, and he had courage expressing his convictions and a special way of dealing with complex issues. And whereas Griffin Graham has demonstrated in many potential practical ways his deep and genuine love for our community and the surrounding area, therefore, let it be known that I, Cindy Osmond, Supervisor of the Township of Saugatuck, on behalf of the Saugatuck Township Board, Township staff, and the citizens of Saugatuck Township express our deepest appreciation to Griffin Graham for representing the Township of Saugatuck with the utmost integrity and professionalism, and we extend to him our sincerest wishes for health and happiness in the advancement of his career. So that is the end of my discussion part. Is there anybody else that would like to make a comment or a discussion before we move on to the vote?
Yeah, can I make a comment? I would just like to say in all my former lives or working life, including working at a college where I worked with a lot of student workers, also adult students, that Griffin has, there's so much we could say, but I would say he is the most mature, poised, well-balanced, I'm missing a word, professional that I have ever had the joy to know or work with at his age. And actually, I know people my age that don't have it.
I would
But
say almost any age.
Yeah, yes. And I mean that sincerely. We are really going to miss you, Griffin, although we know where you'll be. So thank you.
Is there anyone else that would like to make a comment or any discussion?
I will. I just wanted to, I just wanted to say, I don't think I've ever met anyone like Griffin, ever. I was thinking about it today, and he just goes far and beyond. He's wise behind his ears. He's kind. He's just exceptional. He's energetic. He laughs. South Haven is very lucky to have you, Griffin. And I hope we're always going to be able to see you, and we're going to watch you, and excited about your future. And I hope you just have a wonderful life, Griffin. You're just a great person, and I'm going to miss you a lot.
Any other discussion items or comments before I call the roll? Bigford?
Cindy, thank you for preparing that proclamation. I had goosebumps. It really just captured everything that I think all of us, how much we hold Griffin in such a high regard. Thank you for everything, Griffin. You took a mess and you made it amazing, and we're so excited for your future. You deserve all the best, and you've left things at the township in a great place for the next manager. Thank you for everything you've done.
Any other last comments before I call the roll?
Well, I better say something, but rather than repeat all the things that I agree with that have already been said, I'm just going to make a statement that I look forward to the day, which I hope is sometime in 2021, where we can celebrate your new position, celebrate what you did for us, and celebrate your upcoming wedding and marriage to Marissa. Maybe we'll do it at Clementine's. So we know where you are, and I like their onion rings. So let's get that on the calendar as soon as we can.
Thank you, John. I think we're ready to call the roll. Marcy? Marcy, you're muted. I'll skip around.
Yes, Abby, yes.
Okay. Osmond, yes. Helmrich?
Yes.
Bigford?
Yes.
Aldrich?
Yes.
Motion carries unanimously. And now would be a good time to talk about what we're going to do for the transition. I think that everybody has had an opportunity to meet Joe, and either by phone or Zoom. And I think Griffin has either prepared a proposed contract for interim or will prepare one. I'm not quite sure where we left that, but
A proposed agreement was distributed to you all this afternoon. So, if you'd like, I can pull it up. Otherwise, I mean, you're welcome to accept it at this meeting. If you all would find it more appropriate, you're also welcome to authorize one or two township board members to review the agreement and sign it with Mr. Frey. It's really up to you all, but an agreement has been completed. Joe's had an opportunity to review it with his attorney, and the township attorney has reviewed it as well. So it is ready for action if you all are.
I took a look at it, and I mean, I'm fine with moving ahead.
Yeah, we all received it, so we can.
I've read it as well. I'm ready to move ahead, but it's up to the rest of you.
I'm ready to move ahead as well. I think someone with such high recommendations from people who have talked to him means a lot to me, and I'm ready to move.
It's John here.
Hi, John, you have the floor.
All right. I'd like to move to hire Mr. Joe Fry as interim township manager and authorize the township clerk and township supervisor to sign the proposed employment agreement on behalf of the township board.
This is Marcy, I'll second.
Okay, is there any further discussion? Hearing none, I'll call the roll. Helmrich?
Yes.
Marcy?
Yes.
Osmond, yes. Aldrich?
Yes.
Bigford?
Yes.
Motion carries unanimously.
This is Marcy, can I ask a quick question? How do you pronounce his last name? Is it Frey?
My last name is Fry, like a French fry.
Oh, there you are. Hi, Joe. Okay, awesome.
Sorry, I didn't want to cut in while you guys were talking, so.
Right, okay, thank you.
Hey, Griffin's used to people getting his name wrong too.
Gets Griffin's name wrong.
Well, they reverse it. They call him Graham, Mr. Griffin. They spell Griffin.
Oh, okay.
They spell Griffin with an E, not an I.
Oh, okay.
It happens.
And
I can read it though. I can pronounce it.
Welcome, Joe.
Thank you.
Well,
I
Joe,
look forward to working with you all.
It's exciting.
Yeah, my plan is to be there on Monday to work with Griffin, and we can get started and get me caught up to speed for you all.
Okay, good. Yeah. Great.
Perfect. Fiscal year 2021, second quarter budget review and amendment requests. Mr. Graham?
Thank you. As outlined in the General Appropriations Act for that adopted this fiscal year's budget, the township manager is tasked with regular reporting. So before you all, you will see a fiscal year budget report that outlines where we're at to date. I know Treasurer Helmrich mentioned a lot of the highlights earlier today, so I won't belabor the point other than we're tracking tremendously well, particularly in the general fund. With that, I am proposing just a few minor amendments specifically related to the positioning of various donations, the appropriation of various donations, as well as an amendment in the Parks Department. So if you all would consider those amendments, I would be happy to go into them in more detail or answer any questions in regard to the current status of the budget. We're just over 50% of the way through the fiscal year.
Does anybody have any questions or want clarification from Mr. Graham? Hearing none, I would entertain a motion.
This is Aldrich. I move to approve the requested fiscal year 2020-2021 Q2 budget amendment as submitted.
Is there support?
This is Bigford. I'll support.
Motion by Aldrich, supported by Bigford. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, I'll call the roll. Aldrich,
Here.
yes? Does
Oh,
that
yeah.
mean yes?
Oh, I'm flashing back. Yes.
Bigford,
Yes.
I'm still
Helmut,
Yes.
Marcy,
Yes.
Osmond, yes. Motion carries unanimously. And we have an item on the agenda that's creating a historic district commission. I think John could speak to that.
Sure, thank you. Yeah, I requested this as an agenda item tonight because I wanted to recognize the fact in reviewing minutes from the last two meetings of the Township Board as well as Planning Commission, it was noteworthy that over a dozen residents and members of this board spoke in a positive notion way about perhaps considering a historic district commission. And I'm not suggesting we debate the merits tonight, but I thought with such interest, I didn't want to ignore it. I wanted it to show that the board's responsive when there's sort of a groundswell like that. And perhaps what we do tonight is simply decide if in fact we would like to move forward and perhaps appoint a committee, not a commission, but a group of people, perhaps board members, perhaps residents that spoke so eloquently in favor of such a district to participate, to help us and help staff do some research on the steps that would be required, how this could work and what the mechanism is to follow. And we also have a wealth of talent in that our own supervisor is very involved with a historic district in the city of Saugatuck. So I think there's a lot of information out there that could be called together. And again, that was that was not my motion. My reasoning was to keep it on our radar, maybe step it up a degree and move forward and seek people to help us get some more information to see if this is something that is even plausible, and if plausible, do we support it? And I think it might take a few months to do that, but I'd rather suggest we attempt that than ignore it. Thank you.
Thank you, John. Do you think this is something that we could add to our goals and strategic planning meeting?
I think that's an excellent idea.
Okay, let's do that then.
And I also think if we do get to the point where we'd like to see some community people get involved with the committee, I certainly think we could ask some of the people that have spoken out in favor of it already, rather than burden staff with that.
So community members could shoulder some of the burden.
I would expect so, yes, and hope so.
All right. Intergovernmental Recycling Committee report. Daniel? I can see your name there, Daniel.
Yeah, I'm sorry, Madam Supervisor. I don't think Daniel's probably prepared. This is a specific agenda item.
Oh, okay.
I mean, he's welcome to.
Oh, you're right. You're totally
one of
right.
the
I'm sorry.
representatives. But if I can, the reason this is on the agenda is the original charter, if you will, or the original calling for this committee had expired, and the city of Saugatuck extended the advisory tri-community recycling ad hoc committee through the end of 2021. So at this meeting, it would be appropriate for the township board to consider and to make a motion whether or not you all would like to continue to participate in this committee or not. At that same time, you also could consider reappointing the same individuals to that committee and or directing staff to post openings for consideration at a future meeting.
If the committee is willing to continue to serve, I think that provides the best continuity for the committee. If they're willing, I would suggest that we extend and reappoint Daniel DeFranco, Mark Epstein, and Patrick Stewart as the township's representatives on the committee. I guess that was kind of a motion.
I was going to say, should
Oh,
we second
Before
that?
do we know if in fact, I mean, Daniel's here with us tonight. Are all three interested in continuing their work with this committee? Do we know?
I absolutely am. I know that Mark Epstein is committed. I don't know about Patrick Stewart. I don't know if he wants to say anything.
I don't know. Is Patrick still with us?
Don't see him.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm unsure about Patrick Stewart. So I can't speak for him, but I know that I would like to stay on, that Mark would like to stay on. We had a meeting today where we reviewed our accomplishments for 2020 and set new goals for 2021. So there's a lot in the pipeline. I don't know if how many of you read the winter newsletter, but we had a public service announcement that clarified the situation about Republic's use of yellow bags and how township residents could, in fact, get actual recycling services. And it generated a lot of buzz. I got a lot of emails, a lot of positive feedback. It came out that residents were paying quite varied amounts of money. We had residents paying as much as $48 a quarter for recycling. And in a lot of those cases, individuals were able to get the cost of recycling down to either $20.50 a quarter or as low as $16.50 a quarter. So it had a pretty big impact. So we have a lot planned for 2021. And yeah, we have a lot of momentum, a lot of tri-community collaboration and camaraderie growing. So I would recommend that, at least from my standpoint, I would say that, you know, we're going in a good direction.
Yes, I think that we could reappoint all three of them, and if Mr. Stewart is not interested, we could appoint someone else at the next meeting.
We can get Harry.
I agree.
Maybe he'd be interested.
So I have a motion, I need a support.
I'll support.
Motion by Osmond, supported by Helmrich. Any further discussion? Hearing none, I'll call the roll. Osmond, yes. Helmrich,
Yes.
Marcy,
Yes.
Aldrich,
Yes.
Bigford.
Yes.
Motion carries unanimously. So we have to go to a new page. We have committee reports.
All right.
All right.
Anything from the Planning Commission other than our joint meeting, which we already know about?
Well, you know, I'm supposed to report on what happened in December, so bear with me. I'll speak quickly. The Planning Commission met via Zoom on December 14th of 2020. All agreed that Tuesday, January 19th worked best for the joint meeting of the Planning Commission and Township Board, which will happen next Tuesday. A public hearing was held on the consideration of an ordinance to establish groundwater protection overlay zone, which would rezone certain properties in the township within the proposed zone. Public comment was heard from David Swan of the Saugatuck Dunes Coastal Alliance and from Scott Boscraft, project manager for North Shores Development. Jim Brody, who is a hydrogeologist who works with the Kalamazoo Lake Sewer and Water Authority, gave a detailed presentation on the proposed zone. Discussion followed on the revised red line version of the ordinance, which has section D4 removed, which addresses excavation as a regulated activity. Township Council Nick Curcio attended this meeting and explained the changes proposed in the newer version of the ordinance. He also noted that items removed in the new draft could be reinstated and are revised as per direction of the Planning Commission. Brody then spoke more on the wellhead protection program, of which the township is a participant. Questions and discussions regarding the agreement between North Shores and the township, allowing the township to potentially purchase an existing well on the North Shores property for $1 for potential municipal use, was also considered and discussed. After other issues, including the handling of contaminants in the zone, were discussed, Planning Commission voted unanimously to direct staff to review subsection D4 and to offer the Planning Commission a recommendation for revised language in a groundwater and wellhead protection ordinance. An update on the formation of subcommittees to work on areas within the master plan was given. And then in the final public comment, there was just one, and that was also David Swan from the Coastal Alliance, making further comment on the groundwater protection and excavations issue. So it was primarily consumed with one issue, the wellhead protection. We should be seeing, getting more comments from legal counsel in the meeting that's in 2 weeks on Monday, January 25th at 7 p.m.
Thank you, John.
December meeting. Thank you.
Thank you, John. Mr. Graham, would you like to report on the road commission or Brenda?
I'll just say that Griffin and I met with them both January 5th in the evening and then January 6th. And I'll let Griffin, if he wants to just summarize the details of the meetings.
Sure, I'm happy to, Brenda. Yeah, the two meetings Brenda's referring to is on the evening of the 5th was the 2021 primary road millage meeting hosted by the Allegan County Road Commission. I believe Supervisor Osmond was also in attendance.
Oh, that's right.
And at that meeting, the Road Commission discussed 2020 projects that were paid for with primary road millage money and upcoming 2021 and future projects. Following that meeting, I know Brenda and I actually had a nice long conversation about how impressed we were with the long-term capital improvement planning the Allegan County Road Commission does, which really segues really well into the meeting we had on the 6th. On the 6th, Brenda and I had a meeting with several representatives, engineers from Prine and Newhoff, who are working on preparing the township's multi-year road maintenance plan. At that meeting, it was discussed and then confirmed afterward that the township's healthy fund balance in the road fund could be used for not only local roads, but also primary roads in the township. And that is something that the engineers are going to consider when preparing this multi-year maintenance plan for you to consider at a future meeting. I think what stands out to me and what I'll highlight for all of you is when you look at the Road Commission's PASER data, which is the data used to evaluate the condition of roads, Saugatuck Township's local roads are some of the highest ranked in the county, but our primary roads are some of the lowest ranked. And our understanding is there may have been some misunderstanding about what our road fund money could have been used for in the past. So it was almost exclusively only being used to fund local road projects, whereas I would leave it up for you all to consider. But at the end of the day, I think most of our residents, they don't know if they're driving on a primary road or a local road. All they know is they're driving a road in Saugatuck Township, and is it in good shape or is it in bad shape? So it'll be nice that the engineers will at least be considering that when they make recommendations to you all at the future meeting. And with my transition, I know Dana Bird, the township engineer, is planning to attend, at least at this time, the February meeting to give you all an update, and at that time, hopefully a overview of a draft multi-year roadway maintenance plan for review.
Thank you.
Hey, Griffin, I have a question. Is there a list that we have or could have, or a map that would indicate what's considered a primary road in the township?
We would have to ask the Allegan County Road Commission for that. Okay. I would think, I mean, kind of mainly you're talking about roads like Old Allegan and Lakeshore Drive and such, but I don't have a list readily available. We could reach out to the Road Commission and ask for one. I know that's part of the meeting we had. If Brenda wants to speak to it, is actually to prepare some maps for you all for that draft plan that lay out our primary roads versus our local roads, and then both of them put together. So if you're okay waiting a couple weeks, I would tell you, I'm fairly confident that information will be in Dana's update next month. If you
Okay.
prefer, I can try to get that before then.
Yeah, no, I think we can wait a couple weeks, and but I think it'd be a really fascinating and useful tool, not only for our education, but for the public, as people might report issues with certain roads and knowing which is which. Thank you.
I know a lot of the materials they shared with us in their presentation are available on their website.
Okay, they could actually be there. Who knows?
I don't know about that. I don't remember. I don't think it sorted them out, did it, Griffin? I don't think
Actually, Brenda, that's a great point. John, if you want to take a look at last week's weekly update, there was actually an embedded link to the road commission's presentation.
Yep.
That information will be included in there.
So that was January 8th. Yep, I did read it, but I don't always click on the link.
That's fine. Brenda, that's a great point. Yep, so that is available in that presentation. There will also be more township specific information presented with the draft plan.
Cool.
Okay, thank you. Fire board. Stacy, you're up.
All right. December was a busy month that matched the record from 2019. 76 calls. End of year call volume is 862, 12% down from 2019, where there was 977. Response times matched the annual average of 546 for the year. December had 50 priority 1 and 2 calls. EMS counts for 58% of call volume for December. For the year, EMS calls were 533 or 62% of the call volume. And 40% of calls were from the township, 32 were from Douglas, and the rest, including Douglas Cove, where they had several COVID-19 calls. In one day, they had 3 calls for COVID at Douglas Cove. The ISO rating for the majority of the township is now a 3, which is excellent. The rating is how insurance premiums are determined by some companies. The criteria for the rating is based on a fire department's ability to arrive at a call within 5 minutes. And there is a small area on the lake shore where that is not possible, so that has a different rating. The township fire reps, Eric Beckman and myself, along with Chief Janik and our manager, are planning to have a meeting to discuss options like an access road there. And the Allegan County Fire Chiefs Association, they serve 20 Allegan County fire departments by promoting, advocating, coordinating, representing, and supporting the interest of the member fire departments and the citizens they serve, with a focus on high quality firefighting education and supporting community-based risk reduction efforts, including fire, rescue, medical, and other services. To support their mission, Allegan Fire Departments continue to step up with fundraising, and the Fire Board approved a motion to allow ACFCA the use of the Saugatuck Township Fire District facility to host a car wash in 2021, similar to the Betts car wash last year. Details will be announced. And there might be an opportunity to volunteer on that. I'm sure they'd love help. The fire district has also obtained 950 rapid COVID-19 antigen tests for use on the firefighters, emergency medical responders, and full-time staff. So they're doing, there's no cost to the taxpayer, and they're doing tests quite frequently, and the very first one was positive. So it looks like already, you know, they told him to go home and quarantine. He's doing fine, but I think it's a good practice to, and it's a good thing that he acquired those tests. It wasn't easy. That's it.
Thanks, Stacy.
Unless anybody has any questions.
Thank you, Stacy. I think we are up to Parks Commission. Griffin?
Thank you. Jim Searing, the chairman of the Parks Commission report was shared with you all today. Just a few highlights. We're working through some various maintenance issues with the trails in the township. An insurance claim has been filed in regard to the accident north of Dairy Days, and are still waiting for that repair to be funded by the insurance company. At this point, we're looking at $40,000 to $50,000 worth of damage. So confident that that'll get funded by the insurance company. We're just waiting for it to go through those processes. Additionally, there's been some ongoing maintenance issues just north of the fire station. The Parks Commission at its last meeting asked that staff and the township attorney prepare a letter to the engineer and the construction contractor who built that segment of the trail, as it's their impression that it is a premature failure and not regular maintenance. So we're following up with that. Lastly, plans are being developed at Sundown Park. The drain commissioner's office is looking at doing some bank stabilization in partnership with the neighboring property owners. That would benefit the park. However, they likely will request to use the park as an access during construction. That was initially proposed several weeks ago, and I've requested some additional information about that and have yet to hear back. So that's another item parks related that's on the forefront of all of our minds. The only other thing I'd share with all of you, not included in Jim's report, but I do think you are aware that, oh, it is included in Jim's report. I apologize. The dog park was vandalized a few weeks ago, and we did some temporary repairs there, but just something to put on all of your mind. I know that's not a regular occurrence here in our community, and at this point, I think we're all ready to chalk it up to kind of a 1 in a million type situation, but it is something to keep an eye on. The township's very lucky to have the park assets we do, and we want to be vigilant when it comes to people misusing those. So just want to put that on all of your radar as well. I'm happy to answer any questions in regard to the parks.
Thank you, Griffin. Kalamazoo Lake Water and Sewer Authority. Is there anyone that would like to speak to that? If not, Griffin?
Have we communicated to our rep about doing a written quarterly report? I forget.
Yes, I spoke with him following the last meeting.
Okay, thank you.
And then the only thing I would note is I've been in communication with our board rep, Mike McWigan, in regard to the ongoing connection fee and rate study, as well as recently a letter came in from Eagle in regard to some managerial concerns related to financial and managerial concerns related to the authority that I know Daryl Van Dyke, the manager of the Kalamazoo Lake Water and Sewer Authority, is looking into. So that's just something to put on your radar. It looks like there may be some conversations the three communities need to have to make some improvements moving forward. But at this point, I don't really have any more details on that at this time. That letter just came in this week, and we are starting to explore it further.
Thank you, Griffin. The Emergency Services Committee, I see that Tony is not here. Interurban Board. Is anybody here from the Interurban Board?
Lori's report.
There's a written report.
Lori's report. Yep.
Yeah.
Everybody had a chance to look at that?
Yeah.
It's very
Okay.
short. Do you want someone to read it?
Go ahead and read it, Brenda.
Okay. Cow Hill Yacht Club contributed a check for $1,200 to distribute bus passes in the community again this year. We have canceled our Holland trip and New Year's Eve free ride service for social distancing and capacity limits. Due to the lower ridership, the board decided to offer delivery for takeout meals like we did while the stay-at-home order was in place. There will be a $2 fee, just like we have for prescription drop-off. Submitted by Lori Babinski.
Thank you, Brenda. Okay, we're on to open board report. And I will go in alphabetical order so nobody will feel slighted. Aldrich, do you have anything to add?
No, I think, no, I'm good. Thank
Okay,
you.
Bigford. Bigford, any comments?
So sorry, I don't have anything.
Okay, Helmrich.
I just want to congratulate Joe, welcome him on board, and thank Griffin again. And I'm looking forward to a boisterous and educational and super packed week next week, since that's our official transition period. So I'm looking forward to it. I have to get some rest though. I'm getting tired. Thanks.
Thank you, John. Marcy.
I would just say ditto to what John said. So, welcome, Joe, Griffin.
And Osmond. I just would repeat what John and Brenda had to say. I think that it's going to be a great transition, as best as we could, the best that we can expect, and I'm looking forward to it as well. Any other comments before we move into the manager's report? Okay. Manager's report, 2020 Township Board Goals of Quarterly Progress Update. Didn't we do that?
I'll try to keep this as brief as I can. Not to belabor the point from the beginning of our meeting with the annual report, but also included in the packet is an updated master projects list and the other items I've been preparing quarterly related to progress updates. I'm happy to speak to those in more detail if you would like. As been mentioned a few times during the meeting, just a friendly reminder for everyone, there is a special joint meeting of the Township Board and Planning Commission scheduled for next Tuesday, the 19th at 5 p.m. via Zoom conference. The materials are available on the website. They'll also be distributed via MailChimp at the end of the week. The office will be closed on Monday the 18th in observance of Martin Luther King Jr. Day. Staff is also continuing to evaluate options for office operations and public meetings as additional information and further guidance is provided by federal, state, and local officials. I'm sure you all heard earlier today, the state, MDHHS, and the governor made some additional announcements. Staff's in the process are reviewing those and determining their potential impact on our ongoing office operations. Looking ahead to February, just a few items to acknowledge are still on the radar. The strategic action plan, as you all referenced, wellhead protection ordinance, potentially coming from the Planning Commission, and lastly, an update on the status of the multi-year road plan. I would expect all of those would be upcoming in February. And then lastly, I'll just take a minute to thank you all for the opportunity you've given me here in Saugatuck Township. All the kind words you all say mean the world to me. I try really, really hard, and you all acknowledging that, I can't say enough about what that means to me. But Saugatuck Township's always going to be a special place. This community means the world to me. Everyone here has treated me so well as I've started my career, and we have amazing employees, contractors, and individuals who serve on our boards and commissions in all kinds of capacities that go above and beyond for this community. So I also think it's important to just acknowledge I was a very small piece of the puzzle that I think this organization is starting to put together. And I'm really excited to see where you all continue to take it. Don't ever forget that staff is only able to be successful with the leadership and the encouragement and the support you all provide to them. So as successful as I feel like we've been able to be the last couple of years, that starts with you all. And it's important that you all don't ever forget that. With that, I'll just conclude by saying, I'm really proud of the progress we've made as a team. As you all have mentioned, we've gone through some challenges and been able to move through some challenges and really stabilize. And, at the end of the day, during my tenure and the work that we've done, I'm really pleased to be able to say that I think I'm leaving our organization in a really good place. So with that, I'm happy to answer any questions or speak on any of the topics we talked about today in more detail. But otherwise, I'll just end with saying thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Graham. I will open the public comments part of the section. If there's anyone that would like to speak, please get my attention, raise your hand or unmute yourself and speak. I see we have a couple people that haven't spoken yet. I'd like to give them a full opportunity.
Madam Supervisor, Mr. Scott Beltman has raised his hand.
Scott, you have the floor. Scott, you need to unmute yourself.
I know you've had a very long meeting tonight. I'll make this very brief. I just wanted to point out that proposed Allegan County ORV ordinance will have a provision for the townships to update their roads annually. And in this way, your board can make changes to the open or closed roads as you and more importantly, your residents deem necessary. And we feel this is the best approach for a county such as ours with the diversity we have from very rural areas to more urban areas. And this is how other counties in Michigan with similar circumstances have handled this. By doing this, an enforcement will be much easier for the sheriff's department because every township hopefully will have their position apparent on the county map, much like the county map on page 83 from Marquette County in your packet. And I just urge you to consider taking action on the resolution for a county ordinance at an upcoming meeting. And if you have any questions, I'm always available for a phone call. My number's in my email there to the township board. So thank you very much. You guys have a great evening.
Thank you, Mr. Beltman. Stacy?
Thank you. No.
Okay, is there anyone else that has their hand raised or would like to speak?
Lori Goshorn has her hand raised.
Lori, you have the floor.
Hi, all. Sorry about the long meeting. Don't want to keep it longer, but I just wanted to reiterate what John was saying about the Historic Commission. And I hope that it doesn't get pushed down the road much longer because it's really, I think, a valuable thing. And now that we can work with Zoom and people can get started taking a look at what issues we want to work on together, they want to work on together, that now is not a bad time to start. So just want to encourage you guys to keep considering that. Thank you.
Thanks, Lori. Is there anyone else that would like to make a comment? Scott, is that a raised hand or a thumbs up?
Hello, everyone. Happy New Year. That was just a thumbs up.
Okay, thank you. Last call for public comment. Hearing none, we'll close the public comment section of the meeting. And our next item is to adjourn. Is there a motion?
I will move that we adjourn the Wednesday, January 13th meeting of the Saugatuck Township at 8:34 p.m. Did I say that right?
Yes, you did. Is there support?
This is Marcy, I'll support.
We have a motion by Aldrich, support by Marcy. Is there any further discussion? I'll call the roll. Aldrich?
Yes.
Marcy?
Yes.
Bigford? Bigford is muted. I'll come back. Helmrich?
Yes.
Osmond, yes, and Bigford.
Yes.
Motion carries unanimously. So we are adjourned. Thank you, everybody, for
Thank you,
attending and
everyone.
waiting through the